stop. Don't scroll. I know your soul is completely exhausted, and lately you've wondered if God has forgotten your address. You are in a heavy period of silence, tired to your bones, standing dangerously close to giving up. But there is a specific, undeniable reason you were pulled here. Something you did today opened an unprecedented exception in heaven. He is about to break protocol for you, and he has never done this before. Your soul has been forced into a state of permanent alert. You close your eyes at night, but your body refuses to sleep, keeping watch over battles you cannot control. You wake up at 3 a.m. with a nameless tightness in your chest, feeling already behind schedule. This is the exhausting vigil of someone desperately waiting for a confirmation that simply refuses to arrive. Your mind is trapped in a dense fog where simple decisions make you freeze. Every option feels like a hidden trap. When you finally make a choice out of urgency, it already carries the bitter taste of a mistake. You have diagnosed the pattern, yet it continues to repeat in different contexts, with different people, silently breaking you down from the inside out. And the heaviest toll is the one your home pays. You walk through your front door and bring the heavy silence right to the dinner table. Your spouse has learned to stop asking how your day went. Your children have stopped calling you for the small things. You don't mean to, but you are unintentionally unloading the crushing weight of the world onto your family. In the next few minutes, I will show you exactly where you have really been these last few months, in a way that finally makes the silence make sense. You will recognize yourself in the specific details, not the general ones. Then I will give you a specific Hebrew word that has been hidden from you, a true decoding of what was sealed over you. This happens inside this video. And before we finish, I am going to do something that will permanently shift your atmosphere. In the end, I will declare 3 prophetic names over your life. This is not a generic blessing. This is a specific, undeniable spiritual commission. When I speak those names, the confusion will shatter like glass, and you will finally understand the heavy mantle you are truly carrying. I don't promise this changes your life by tomorrow morning. I promise that if you stay until the end, you leave knowing something you didn't, with something specific in hand, and something declared over you that remains. But hear me closely. If you leave in the middle, you leave without the seal, and the enemy will steal the clarity you were meant to receive. Think of a seed buried deep in the winter. The ground is hard, the environment is dark, and there is no external evidence of life. Anyone walking by would assume the soil is barren. But that seed was not abandoned. It was placed there with deliberate intention, by hands that knew exactly what kind of power it carried, waiting for the frozen ground to break. You need to understand that your exhaustion is not failure. You haven't been fighting poorly. You have been fighting without the instrument that was promised to you, but that you still don't know exists. You are trying to cross a violently parting sea with bare hands, when you were supposed to hold the very map that commands those waters to stay open. Right now, go to the comments and type, "I am here," to establish your position. And concerning exactly this exhaustion, the heavy decisions, and the silence you bring home, Solomon left behind a 2-minute key that fits perfectly into your ordinary day. I will show you how to use it shortly. Keep that in the back of your mind as we move forward. And if you have to leave before the end, this instrument is already waiting for you in the first pinned comment, right below. But I urge you to stay until the end, because without the context that comes next, the key won't carry the same power in your hands. But tell me, what happens to a seed that no one planted, no one waters, and yet insists on growing? You are here because something you did today opened an unprecedented exception in heaven. The word has been given. The decree to break protocol has been issued. But between the decree of an impossible breakthrough and the physical parting of your uncharted waters, there is an interval. An interval that the enemy knows far better than you do. And it is exactly in this interval that the majority of the chosen lose what was granted to them. Not because the heavenly decree was revoked, but because they arrived home on a Monday morning and did not have the instrument to sustain the weight of the transition. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived, and this is not just a title in a history book. It is a biblical record signed by God himself. When he had the chance to ask for anything, absolutely anything, he did not ask for wealth, he did not ask for a long life, and he did not ask for the heads of his enemies. He asked for wisdom. and God was so moved by this request that he gave him wisdom and everything else along with it. He judged the dispute between the two mothers when no one else in the kingdom knew how to judge. He wrote 3,000 proverbs. He governed Israel at the absolute historical peak that nation ever saw before or since. The Queen of Sheba traveled for months on a camel just to test this wisdom, and when she returned, she declared that not even half had been told. And Jesus himself, Jesus in person, cited Solomon by name. And he did not take this wisdom to the grave. He left it recorded with a surgical precision that has crossed 3,000 years without losing its edge. He left recorded how to stop walking in circles in the dry wilderness when God is already paving a brand new highway for you, so you stop colliding with the same stones right when your breakthrough arrives. He left recorded how to walk through your front door, carrying the atmosphere of an impossible miracle, instead of the heavy dust of the desert, so your family finally breathes and doesn't need you resolved, but needs you present at the dinner table, acting as the firm pillar they expect. And he left recorded how to stand tall with the posture of the true chosen one, the Bay Kair, instead of bowing down to natural circumstances, so you stop deciding in desperation, stop asking for advice from those who sink you, and stop believing those who sell cheap miracles. Before I name the instrument, move your thumb to the first pinned comment right below. Don't click yet, just let your gaze reach it and recognize that it's there. Do that now. I gathered this into a guide called The Code of Solomon's Wisdom. It is a main written guide in PDF that you read in one sitting of 40 minutes, plus the audio of The Ritual of the Righteous Sleep in MP3 to listen to before bed, and the written guide of the 7 morning decrees in PDF to open in the first hour of the day. It is in the first pinned comment right below. It is the union of the wisdom of Proverbs with the principles of peaceful restoration, taking a person from a state of survival and bringing them to a state of clarity and decision. Solomon wrote it. I organized it for the ordinary day you are living right now, in this week that begins tomorrow. Along with the main guide come 2 instruments that I included because without them the guide would have a hole. The first is The Ritual of the Righteous Sleep, 10 minutes before bed, guided by what David wrote in Psalm 4:8. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. It is not a modern relaxation technique. It is the act of handing over to the guard of the one who does not sleep what you carried all day, so your soul stops standing watch over the heavy iron door of anxiety, letting the Lord defend what is yours. The second is the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees. 5 minutes upon waking, before your phone, before your coffee, before the first message the world tries to write into you, 7 decrees spoken in your own voice, taken from the wisdom of Proverbs, that position the day before the day positions you. It is the posture of an heir before the calendar, the bills and the routine speak for you. And the value, oh the value, less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon, less than a simple Sunday lunch with your family, less than a tank of gas to drive to church on Sunday. I set it at this value on purpose, not because it is worth little, it is worth what Solomon left recorded for 3,000 years. I set it at this value so that the only obstacle between you and the instrument would be your decision to reach out your hand. Not the price, not your schedule, not a commute. Only your hand reaching toward the link. And there is a guarantee of 7 days. If you open it, use it for a week and it doesn't serve you, you send an email and receive your money back entirely. And here is the part nobody else does. You keep the 2 bonus instruments. The ritual of the righteous sleep stays with you. The awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees stays with you, even after the refund. This is not a generous concession. It is the acknowledgement that the risk of testing cannot be yours. The risk is ours. The only risk left for you is the risk of not testing, and the risk of not testing is walking away with the decree open in heaven and losing it on Monday morning. Several people here on this channel in recent weeks have already received this instrument. Fathers, grandparents, people who carry their household on their backs. I've read messages from those who slept through the night for the first time in months. From a husband who sat down at the dinner table and his wife noticed the difference without needing to ask. From a grandmother who managed to pray with her grandchild without the weight of the day crossing the prayer. It's not magic, it's the right instrument in the right hand. And while they sleep tonight with their soul handed over, your calendar keeps running. The next night you will lay your head on the pillow with your soul still on alert is today, maybe 3 hours from now. The next morning you will wake up thinking about the battles is tomorrow. Each night without the ritual of the righteous sleep is a night your body will pay for. Each morning without the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees, is a morning the world rewrites first. The cost of postponing is not zero. But do not leave right now, the ceiling has not finished yet. What I need to show you next is greater than any instrument Solomon left recorded. It is the Hebrew name of what is happening to you at this exact moment, the name of the exception that was opened in heaven because of what you did today. And when you hear this name, you will understand why everything up to here was preparation for a single word: stay. There is a specific spiritual diagnosis for what you have been experiencing, and it is not the standard struggle of the ordinary believer. Heaven has been watching you carry an impossible weight in complete silence, and what you interpreted as God turning his back was actually the intense surgical preparation of a chosen vessel. I am going to list 5 precise signs that happen exclusively to those who are being groomed for an unprecedented break of protocol. Listen closely to the details of your own life. When I describe these 5 signs, you will finally understand that you are not losing your mind, nor are you being punished. The first sign is that your prayers have drastically changed their tone, and lately, it feels like they are not even breaking through the ceiling. You used to pray and feel an immediate, comforting presence, a sense of lightness that assured you everything was fine. Now you speak into the dark, and the words feel heavy, bouncing back to you in an empty room. What feels like spiritual abandonment is actually God elevating you from the milk of sudden comfort to the solid meat of unwavering faith. He is testing your capacity to stand firm in the dark before he hands you the blueprint of the impossible. The second sign is an unnameable, crushing weight that descends on you during your ordinary day, leading to completely frozen decisions. You stand before a major crossroad, knowing you must act, but every single option feels like a hidden trap waiting to spring. You have already diagnosed the pattern of your past mistakes, yet you see it repeating in different contexts with different people, and you simply cannot break it. What feels like chronic indecision and failure is actually a divine blockade, actively preventing you from moving out of timing and ruining the path being paved for you. The third sign is the heavy distance you bring through your front door, turning your own home into a silent waiting room. You walk in, and instead of finding a sanctuary, you bring the crushing weight of your silent battles straight to the dinner table. Your spouse has learned not to ask what is wrong, and your children or grandchildren no longer call you for the small, joyful things. What feels like a cold rejection from your family is actually their inability to process the massive spiritual warfare you are carrying on your shoulders without knowing how to put it down. The fourth sign is that sudden, inexplicable cracks are opening in your daily life, draining your resources and your physical energy through invisible holes. You are working harder than ever, trying to hold everything together, yet your finances, your peace of mind, and your bodily strength seem to leak away before the week is over. You wake up exhausted, feeling like your energy was stolen in the night. What feels like a coordinated curse destroying your stability is actually the enemy's desperate attempt to exhaust your body before the unprecedented door finally opens for you. The fifth sign is the absolute deafening silence you receive as the only answer when you beg for a simple confirmation. You have cried out for just one clear sign, one small breadcrumb of direction to know you are on the right path. But heaven responds with absolute stillness. What feels like a cruel denial is actually the highest level of spiritual trust. God does not need to constantly reassure a soldier who has already been given the authority to hold the line. The silence is not a void. It is the ultimate seal of approval on your endurance. If you recognize yourself in at least 3 of these 5 signs, you are not walking through a normal season of difficulty. You are in the middle of a high-level spiritual transition. Right now, go to the comments and write this exact phrase: I carry what no one else carries. Do not type anything else. Just declare that specific sentence to establish your position in the spiritual realm. Acknowledging the weight is the first mandatory step, before you can finally learn how to properly sustain it without letting it break you. You have to understand that this season of your life is functioning exactly like a severe, tightly sealed pressure chamber. You feel like a piece of ordinary coal being crushed from every single side by the demands of your family, your finances, and your unanswered prayers. But extreme pressure is the only known environment in the universe capable of producing a flawless diamond. What you have been calling a relentless, agonizing crushing is, in reality, the precise divine refinery extracting the absolute purest version of your faith, preparing you to handle a miracle that would destroy an unprepared mind. Before I give you the specific Hebrew name of what you carry, I need to remind you of a fundamental spiritual law. The instrument that Solomon left recorded, the one I mentioned at the very beginning, does not replace the name you are about to receive. It helps you sustain the weight of that name in your ordinary day after the name has been fully imparted to you. Without the name, the instrument is just an empty tool. But without the instrument, the name will be stolen by Monday morning. First the name, then the instrument. Stay. There is one specific word in Hebrew that defines exactly what you are carrying, and it explains why the resistance against you has been so unusually violent. It is the exact name of the exception that was opened in heaven because of your silent endurance. When I say this word, the confusion will shatter, and you will never look at this agonizing waiting period the same way again. I am going to reveal it to you right now. Stay. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Place your hand on your chest. Let the weight of the last few months settle for a moment, because what I am about to speak over you is the exact spiritual frequency of your current season. The word is Bakir. I will say it again, slower, so your spirit can fully absorb the vibration of this decree. Bakir. It is an ancient, heavy word carved in the deep courts of heaven, long before your current crisis even began. This is not just a random term you find in a dictionary. It is a divine classification, a spiritual rank that very few ever attain in their lifetime. Many translate Bakir simply as the chosen or the selected one, but that is a shallow shell. It reduces a massive spiritual commission to a generic title. To say it merely means chosen is like looking at a roaring ocean and calling it a puddle. That weak definition does not explain why you wake up at 3 in the morning with your heart pounding. It does not explain the extreme, coordinated resistance against your finances and your family. If it just meant chosen, you would be resting on comfortable pillows, not fighting an invisible war while the rest of the world sleeps in blissful ignorance. The true layered meaning of Bakir is the tested gold. It is the one who was pressured, crushed, and placed in the hottest fire of silence, yet refused to shatter. It is the specific vessel for whom heaven is actively breaking protocol to deliver the blueprint of the impossible. You are not experiencing this crushing because you failed. You are experiencing it because God is preparing to open a path where there was a solid wall. He is about to command the parting of uncharted waters specifically for you. Your silent endurance has become your ultimate seal of approval in the spiritual realm. This exact rank of the tested and approved vessel is what commands the impossible to manifest in the physical world. It is the living embodiment of the absolute promise recorded in Isaiah 43:19. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Heaven is not repeating an old miracle for you. Heaven is doing a new thing, an unprecedented break of protocol, carving rivers in your specific exhausted desert. The wilderness you are walking through is the exact location of your incoming miracle. You must understand this profound spiritual law. This agonizing period of waiting has a name before it has an end. Before God changes your situation, He names your posture within it. Your season is called Bakir. By naming it, heaven is declaring that the chaos is not out of control. The heavy silence you brought to your dinner table, the fog at your crossroads, the sleep of the hunted, all of it is contained within a designated, deliberate boundary. The suffering is not random. It is the violent friction of a brand new highway being paved in the spirit before it materializes under your feet. Think back to that seed buried deep in the winter. For months, the ground felt like a tomb, sealed tight under layers of frost and darkness. But Bakir is the precise frequency that commands the frozen ground to finally break. It is the exact code that unlocks the sealed file of your true identity. You thought you were buried and forgotten under the weight of an unanswered prayer, but you were actually planted as the ultimate seed of a completely unprecedented harvest. The file is no longer sealed. Your spiritual rank has been fully recognized in the courts above. Now that you know the name of what you carry, I need to show you that someone carried this before you. Someone stood exactly where you are standing, facing an impossible throne, feeling like a child before a crushing responsibility. And what happened to that person will change everything you thought you knew about how God responds to the Bakir. I promised to come back to this. It's now. You are not the first Bakir to stand exactly where you are, feeling entirely unqualified for the heavy mantle placed on your shoulders. Thousands of years ago, a young man named Solomon stood before an absolute, impossible mountain. He had just inherited a gigantic, chaotic kingdom filled with enemies, expectations, and a weight that would crush an ordinary mind. In the quiet of his own room, he felt exactly the way you feel at 3 in the morning, like a little child who does not know how to go out or come in. The silence of heaven pressed down on him, and the massive responsibility threatened to break him before his reign even began. But when heaven finally broke protocol, and the Creator himself offered him a blank check, Solomon did not ask for a passive miracle. He did not ask for mountains of wealth, and he did not ask for his enemies to be struck down in the night. He asked for an instrument. He asked for an understanding heart, the sheer practical wisdom to judge his people and discern between good and bad. Because of that exact Bakir posture, God did the impossible. He gave him the wisdom, and then he added the riches, the peace, and the unprecedented favor that no other king has ever seen before or since. That agonizing period of feeling entirely inadequate was not a punishment for Solomon. It was the intense, invisible preparation necessary to carry the heaviest crown. What felt like a terrifying silence was the exact forge that molded his discernment. And the moment he applied that wisdom, the moment he judged the impossible case of the 2 mothers when no one else knew what to do, his hidden preparation exploded into a visible, undeniable calling. The fog of his crossroads lifted, and the entire world realized that the anointing on his life was absolutely real. Before I declare the 3 names that will seal this calling over you, leave your like on this video right now. Every single like is a beacon for another exhausted soul who is also carrying a heavy mantle in the dark, believing they have been forgotten. You are not doing this for me, and you are not doing it for an algorithm. You are doing it for them. Now keep your eyes closed. Receive this decree. When the enemy thought you would completely crumble under the unbearable weight of the last season, God looked down through the courts of heaven and called you the unbroken vessel. You have been pressured, struck from every side, and left seemingly forgotten in the waiting room of life, but you absolutely did not shatter. You held your shape in the hottest fire, and because you maintained your structural integrity when everything around you was falling apart, you are now authorized to carry the heavy, pure water of the impossible miracle. The cracks the enemy tried to form in your mind have been sealed permanently. The second name etched over your life is not an afterthought. You are the protocol breaker, the exact reason heaven is actively rewriting the natural rules today. Your silent endurance carries such a massive, undeniable weight in the spiritual realm that God is willing to bypass ordinary natural laws just to answer your cry. You are no longer bound by the standard timelines or the slow progression that limits others. The sea does not part for the comfortable. It parts for the protocol breaker, who steps into the uncharted waters knowing that heaven has no choice but to respond to the frequency of their faith. The third and final name completely shatters the cycle of generational defeat. You will no longer inherit trauma or lack. You are the pioneer of the bloodline, planting the heavy flag of victory for your children's children. This impossible miracle is not just for your own personal comfort. It is to establish a brand new, unbreakable normal for your entire family line. You are taking the hits, carrying the heavy silence, and walking through the desert first so that they can walk safely on a paved highway. The anxiety and the crushing debt stop with you. You are the definitive turning point in your bloodline's history. These three names are not just words floating in the air, they are precise spiritual frequencies. Solomon operated on this exact same wavelength to command his kingdom with unprecedented authority. Right now, heaven is transmitting the blueprint of the impossible, and these names just tuned your internal receiver to finally catch the signal. You are no longer living in static noise. You are locked onto the broadcast of the Bakir. But there is something the enemy desperately does not want you to know about these three names, because when you know it, he instantly loses the main weapon he has been using against you all these months. The moment you finally understand your true name, a massive target is painted directly on your back. The adversary does not fear a believer who is confused and exhausted. He is absolutely terrified of a Bakir who finally knows their rank. Now that your identity has been unsealed, he will immediately launch a coordinated, desperate counterattack to make you drop your crown before you even wear it. You have received the practical map for your daily life. Now I am unlocking the spiritual map. I will expose his three specific tactics, and I will hand you the exact three weapons to utterly destroy them. His first tactic is the silent erosion of comparison. He will wait for your weakest moment to whisper that your time is moving slower than everyone else's. He will point out people who started after you but seem to be prospering, suggesting that you have been left behind in God's calendar. This is a targeted psychological attack designed to make you abandon your post. He wants you to look at the dry wilderness around you and conclude that the promised highway will never be built, convincing you that your agonizing wait was nothing but a foolish illusion. Your first weapon against this lie is the absolute decree of singularity. You must aggressively speak what God has promised, completely ignoring what your exhausted eyes see. You will look at the delay and declare, "My trajectory is entirely unique. I do not compare my harsh winter with another's sudden spring. Your timeline is not delayed, it is heavily guarded. The unparalleled weight of the impossible miracle you are about to carry requires an extraordinarily deep foundation. Refuse the bait of comparison, because heaven is not preparing you to join the crowd. Heaven is preparing you to lead the way." His second tactic is the violent erosion of your perception. He will desperately try to make you interpret heaven's silence as a final rejection. The adversary will use the quiet of the night to plant heavy seeds of anxiety, filling your home with constant static noise to completely drown out the still, small voice of the Lord. He wants your nights filled with terror and your days dominated by chronic indecision. If he can distort your perception of reality, he can convince you that God has permanently closed the door, forcing you to surrender your breakthrough. Your second weapon is the unshakable memory of the altar. You must deliberately remember that specific, undeniable moment when God was absolutely real in your life. That memory is not just a comforting thought, it is binding legal proof in the supreme court of heaven. When the enemy fills your house with chaos, you strike back with the memory of his faithfulness. Memory always defeats false perception. The God who carved a path for you in the past is the exact same God breaking protocol for you right now. Stand firm on the altar of your testimony. His third and most dangerous tactic is the brutal erosion of your persistence. He knows exactly how close you are, so he will try to push you into active desperation. The adversary will concentrate the accumulated exhaustion of the last 7 years into this final mile, inciting you to look at the impassable sea and try to fix it with your own physical strength. He wants you to exhaust your family's resources and make terrible, rushed decisions. He hopes you will drop the heavy mantle and collapse just moments before the impossible waters finally part before you. Your final weapon is the sheer brutal resistance of the last second. This is the deliberate choice to stand firmly anchored in wisdom when absolutely everything around you is screaming for you to panic. You do not need to run forward in desperation, and you must not try to command the waters with your own failing strength. You simply must refuse to leave the threshold. Hold your ground with the instrument in your hand. Your refusal to act in fleshly panic is the exact trigger that commands the spiritual realm to release your unprecedented harvest. To secure this stance, you must align yourself with the right frequency. Subscribe to this channel right now. Do not do this as a meaningless social media gesture. Do this as a deliberate spiritual positioning of your internal receiver for the crucial days that are coming. You are planting a flag in the ground, declaring that you are officially tuned in to the broadcast of the chosen, and you will not allow the noise of the world to drown out the instructions you need. Lock your position here so you do not miss the next command. Now that your spiritual map has been fully unlocked, the enemy's tactics are exposed and stripped of their power. You know exactly what you are dealing with, you know your true name, and you hold the specific weapons you need to fight back effectively. Because of this, there is a vital sealing prayer that urgently needs to be prayed right now. Not a prayer spoken by me on your behalf. A prayer spoken by you, taking absolute ownership of your authority. I will lead you through it, word by word. Do not move. Close your eyes now. Place both hands over your chest. Breathe deeply before we continue. Let the physical environment around you fade completely into the background as you bring your absolute focus to the altar of your own heart. You have heard the diagnosis, you have received the map, and your spiritual rank as the Bakir has been fully recognized. Now we must seal this unprecedented break of protocol so that the enemy cannot steal it the moment you open your eyes. Stand still in this holy interval. Lord, we stand before you acknowledging the agonizing weight of the last season. We confess the crushing exhaustion of a body that has kept watch in the dark, waking up at 3 in the morning with a racing heart to fight battles we could not control. We confess the heavy fog at the crossroads, the desperate paralysis of wanting to make the right choice, but fearing that every path was a hidden trap. And we confess the heavy silence we brought through our front doors, unloading the brutal dust of the wilderness onto the dinner table, watching our families learn to tiptoe around our silent grief. We have tried to command the parting of these uncharted waters with our own failing strength, and we are entirely depleted. But even completely depleted, we have refused to shatter. We declare right now that we will not surrender our post, nor will we abandon the threshold of this impossible miracle. We deliberately received the heavy mantle of the Bakir, accepting that the extreme pressure was not a punishment, but the exact forge meant to prepare us. We take ownership of the identity of the unbroken vessel. We accept the profound authority of the protocol breaker, and we rise to carry the generational standard as the pioneer of the bloodline. We stand firm in the gap, holding our ground, ready to hear the final judgment from the highest court of heaven over our lives. I saw you in those nights when you stared blankly at the bedroom ceiling, and the suffocating tightness in your chest arrived long before your first conscious thought formed. I watched your hands grip the sheets at 3 in the morning as your mind desperately tried to solve tomorrow's battles, your physical body absorbing the blows of a war that was never yours to fight alone. I saw the sheer terror of waking up already feeling defeated by the alarm clock, wearing your heavy armor to bed because you thought I had abandoned the watch. I saw you. I saw you in those agonizing decisions you made out of sheer desperation because the clarity did not arrive in time, and the very next morning you woke up staring at your phone, feeling the crushing weight of a mistake you had already diagnosed but did not know how to avoid. I watched you stand frozen at the crossroads of your own life, holding a compass in a magnetic storm, terrified to take a single step forward because every previous step felt like a trap springing shut on your ankle. I saw the silent paralysis. I saw you turning the key in your front door, walking into your living room, and unknowingly unloading the crushing weight the world had placed upon you straight onto the dinner table. I watched your spouse look at your exhausted eyes and slowly learn to swallow their questions, and I saw your children quietly retreat to the other room because the heavy dust of your unseen battles had filled the house. I saw your home turn into a waiting room of anxiety, and I saw the deep, unspoken guilt that tore at your soul because of it. But I tell you now that your exhausted vigil is over, and your silent endurance has become the exact legal precedent for my intervention. I am not giving you a generic blessing. I am commanding an unprecedented break of protocol specifically because of your posture in the fire. You are the Bakir, the tested gold, and I am actively making a way in your specific wilderness where there was only a solid wall. The spiritual decree of your impossible miracle has been irrevocably issued today, but you must take up the instrument I provided to physically sustain this breakthrough in your ordinary Monday morning. You are committed, you are commissioned, you are sent, you are committed, you are commissioned, you are sent, you are committed, You are commissioned. You are sent. Don't say amen yet. Stay here. Let the profound weight of this divine seal settle over your mind and your body. The transaction in the heavenly courts is finished, but your physical frame needs a moment to catch up to the massive reality of what has just been transferred to you. Do not rush this sacred interval. That heavy, isolated seed buried deep in the freezing winter has finally broken through the frost. The soil that the entire world and even you assumed was utterly barren has just produced the first undeniable, violently green shoot of life. The deep freeze is over. The unprecedented harvest has officially begun, and the ground will no longer hold you back. Now you may say amen. Don't open your eyes yet. Keep your hands on your chest. The seal is fresh, and it's exactly now that the adversary will try his first attack. What was sealed here will be tested this Monday. When the alarm rings, when routine returns, when the cycle tries to reread today as a passing emotion, anyone commissioned without an instrument walks the open field without what Solomon recorded. The exception was opened in heaven. Now it must survive the ordinary day. The code of Solomon's wisdom is in the first pinned comment, right below, not as a substitute for what you received here, but as a companion to defend what was sealed. Because a decree without an instrument rots on the first Monday morning, and the adversary counts on Monday, less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon, less than a Saturday afternoon snack, with a guarantee of 7 days and the 2 bonus instruments that stay with you even if it doesn't serve you. The risk is ours. The hand is yours. Click now while the decree is alive in your chest, not tomorrow. Whoever leaves it for later leaves it for never. That voice whispering right now, you'll see later. Decide tomorrow. Now is not the time. That voice is not yours. That voice is the voice of the one who lost today in the court of heaven and is trying to recover ground on your Monday morning. He counted on later in every past message you postponed. He counts on later now. Click before the adversary speaks louder than the decree that has just been sealed over your head. And now the last word. Someone in your circle stands before an impossible wall. Someone coming home unloading the same heavy dust. Someone waiting for uncharted waters to part. They won't stop scrolling alone. Send this to them. This isn't sharing a video. This is interceding. Now close your eyes. Breathe 3 times. Remain in silence until it ends. What was done needs to settle. Do not scroll. Do not leave. Stay.